Thousands of ANC supporters gathered at the Mpumalanga Stadium to celebrate the party's 112th birthday. For analysis on this, we're now joined by political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou and Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, Director of the Center for Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at Nelson Mandela University. Gentlemen, very good evening. Appreciate your time. Professor, allow me to start off with you. What a shared moment for the ANC. This is the first election where it is expected that the ANC might fall below 50%. Do you feel that the January 8 statement delivered by ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa would serve to address those issues?
Thank you very much, Hugo, for having me, and good evening to my colleague, Dr. Ndou, and your listeners, your viewers. Yes, indeed, the President tried his level best to convince those who attended the gathering that the ANC is on the right track. You and I know that the opposite is true. Of course, everything was done to make sure that enough people are passed into the stadium, which is something that all political parties do anyway. So what they did then was correct. But the tone of the President did not dwell much on real issues. He spent a lot of time convincing both those who were in attendance and those who were watching that the ANC is ready for any contender for the position. And indirectly, he was speaking to MK, which is a new party that has caused havoc in the political space in South Africa. So most of what he said, in fact, had more to do with a defense mechanism more than just dealing with the reality. I would have expected him to spend a lot of time on load shedding, which is a menace to development, to job creation, which he also talked about, and a lot of other things. So I think that the President, in a way, he satisfied himself by touching the correct buttons, but then he missed an opportunity in speaking directly to the main problem that the country is facing, which is load shedding.
Dr. Ndou, there's obviously an anomaly from what Professor Mngomezulu has said, in that whilst ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa had an opportunity to address a number of issues, those issues appear not to have been addressed in the January 8 statement. Do you think that the failure to address the issues is because the ANC does not have an answer for the many challenges? So whether it's load shedding or service delivery that's bedeviling the country?
Good evening to you and good evening to my colleague Professor Mngomezulu. My view is that the ANC finds itself in a very, very difficult situation, in the sense that the internal dynamics within the party and issues that relates to the formations of other political parties, coupled with the celebration of the birthday, are issues that have to be done, and they're all coming at the same time. And I think what might appear to have been a challenge would have been whether they should focus on celebrating or focus on other political parties that are being formed, or actually focus on mainly on the internal dynamics within the party. But my sense as well is that in support of what Prof is saying, is that the ANC appears to have been quite misplaced or not put in its right space by the formations of all these other political parties, and what they're trying to do is to catch up with whatever is happening. Part of what, in my view, the President was saying has been to alert the members and the general public that even though there are other political parties that are being formed, the ANC remains in charge, and what they were trying to do was to ensure that branches go back where they are, rebuild, be resilient, and ensure that they don't lose any of their members to any other parties that could be in existence.
Professor, the ANC President outlined some of the successes. He talked about tackling the economic challenges and disparities inherited from apartheid, especially in terms of racial and gender concentration. And he spoke about some of the successes that they've enjoyed. Are those successes sufficiently tangible to impact how members of the ANC will vote this year, or the general populace will vote?
Hugo, that's a very critical question. Factually, the President was correct in saying that in terms of gender parity, an attempt has been made, especially at government level, an attempt has been made to increase the number of women who are representing the general public in Parliament. On that one was absolutely correct. The number has increased significantly, although it is not in line with the ANC's own policies of 50-50 representation. So in other words, progress has been made, but then the ANC is not where it's supposed to be in as far as gender parity is concerned. With regards to job creation, I don't think that this one is a secret. We all know that job creation is one area where government has failed. If you look at the unemployment rate in the country, you can see for yourself that indeed we have a problem. Even after we've had more job summits, investment summits, but then we seem not to be out of the woods yet. So on that score then, if people are focusing on the positive side, they might give the ANC the benefit of the doubt and the president the benefit of the doubt and say progress has been made. But looking at this issue holistically, then I'm afraid that the majority of the people would say, we've given you a mandate to take this country forward, but you have failed to reach to take us to where we want to go. Therefore, allow us to give other people a chance. Then they might then end up voting for other political parties. So yes, of course, the president was not just thumb-sucking the figures. He was talking about figures that are there, but the figures themselves don't solve the problem because people want the reality on the ground. And as things stand at the moment, I'm not sure if he has convinced all of them to vote for the ANC again.
Dr. Ndou, I'd like to give you an opportunity to unpack this year's theme as outlined by ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa. And he said the year of united action to defend our freedom and advance a better life for all, forward to a decisive victory. What is he talking about? And has he articulated how this forward to decisive victory is going to occur?
Well, I think this is in response to what many people and other political parties are actually saying. There is a talk out there that is saying that 2024 could be a repetition of 1994. Other political parties appears to be having a lot of energy and determination to ensure that come 2024 elections, they'll have to take over power from the ANC. And in response to that, that is why the ANC came with this kind of a theme. My sense is that even though they were celebrating their birthday, it was also an opportunity for the ANC to launch its campaign for 2024. Because on numerous occasions, you'd hear the president talking about ensuring that branches go back and mobilize people to vote for the ANC again. And the last part of the theme talk about decisive victory. And indeed, that is about the victory for the 2024 elections, which the president or the ANC actually launched today. That also means that from now on, the campaign has actually started for 2024, and I'm expecting the ANC and all other political parties to go all out and start with their campaigns, because if they don't start now, they'll actually be late to do their own campaigns. So from now on until the elections, we'll always be hearing different political parties talking about campaigns and nothing else.
Professor, what are the key elements of the ANC's renewal program, and how does it address the challenges faced by the organization?
Sorry, there was a capacity. You say what are the main successes?
What are the key elements of the ANC's renewal program, and how does it address the challenges faced by the organization?
You know, that area is a bit disappointing in the sense that in the past, we've been told that government is going to create more job opportunities. But then the opposite has happened, whereby a number of jobs have been lost. So therefore, I don't think that that message will be well received by the general populace. Of course, those who are able to get jobs, they might say that, yes, indeed, we are on the right track. Then we talk about basic things like providing water to mainly rural communities, including mine, by the way, at Ngwavuma. That one is still a problem. And you don't understand where the main issue is, given the fact that, for example, you have chosen Dam, which has a capacity to feed the larger part of the South African community. Water goes to as far as Eswatini, but local communities like mine still don't have water. So on that score, then we may say that there is an attempt to try and convince people that indeed we have made progress, but I don't think that when you go down to the detail, you will find that progress. We have already spoken about unemployment. We have already spoken about load shedding and a couple of other things. One other thing that the president talked about, which is refreshing, but I don't think is practical, is the industrialization of this country. So that you don't send the raw materials to the outside community. Instead, we send final product. As we were speaking, I was talking to one friend of mine saying that, how are you going to industrialize when you still have load shedding? Because for you to industrialize, you need a reliable energy so that you'll be in a position to keep the business people that are already in the country and then attract even more, and then you can be able to expand and then build more industry. So I think most of what the president was saying is what politicians would say. Any other politician, even if it's not the president, more talk but less action. That is the summary of what I picked up from the president's speech.
Now, Doc, how does the ANC plan to counter the efforts of social and political forces working against the gains of freedom and transformation? And this has got to be something that they're thinking seriously about.
There are a number of social challenges that we face in the country. And in my view, there has been a number of attempts by the ANC and government to deal with a number of social ills in South Africa. One of the issues that is of great concern to all of us in South Africa are issues that relate to gender-based violence. And in my view, the ANC, the government, and all other political parties have actually done a lot to conscientize people about these kind of social ills. My view is that government, political parties, and other civic organizations have done their part. What is left now is for us as citizens to join in and ensure that such issues do not happen. Because it is not possible that you are going to have a police officer in every household to prevent women from being abused by men. It therefore requires us as citizens or as men to actively participate in ensuring that gender-based violence and other social ills are things of the past.
Gentlemen, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for unpacking the January 8th statement. There was political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou and Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, Director at the Center for Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University.